Hunter x Hunter Chapter 409 is out. However, I know I said I was doing the official translations, but I'm going on vacation starting Saturday all the way till next Wednesday, so I won't be able to cover the official translations for Hunter x Hunter, so I'm going by a fan translation that I have right now, just so I can give you guys updates on what's going on with the manga, and see what's going on, and give you my thoughts in between. So, excuse me, if things are different in the official translations, I will address them in the following review. So, before we start anything, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Now that out of the way, let's get right into the chapter. So chapter 409 of Hunter x Hunter, titled Negotiations Part 3. And we actually got announcements for each of the tiers and what they're going to be doing during this special martial law declaration. And Borkson trying to understand and use these pieces of information to narrow down where the Haley hideout is, due to how specific announcements can only be for specific tiers. If there are announcements towards tier 1 and 2, then you have to be at least on these higher tiers to get these announcements. Otherwise, you're on the lower tiers. So, first off, they're basically saying that for the passengers of tier 5, they're to follow usual instructions as military police and labor officials issue anything for the visitors and all that. So tier 5 tends to be relatively the same. Tier 4, for tier 4, all connecting passageways are going to be sealed off as a precautionary measure to ensure that any issues from the upper tiers do not, under any circumstances, spread downwards. They're taking all possible measures to maintain safety, and there will be no impact whatsoever on tier 4. Now, for passengers of tier 3, they will have to face the nearest wall with their hands up on their knees until further instructions are stated, and they are not to move whatsoever until they receive any orders from the Royal Army. And I like how Borkson is concluding, based off of everything that's going on, Morena's just shock and unpredicted reaction to all this. She is concerned over this, and so Borkson is going to take the opportunity to continue the negotiation game as the announcement is going on, to not only hit Morena off her game, and maybe she'll be a bit distracted, but also to further get out of this precarious situation that she's currently in. So there's that. So she's going to multitask, get through the game, learn what she needs to know, and basically get what she needs based off of this announcement. And so she actually decides to continue the game with the next card she's choosing from Morena, interestingly enough, being the deal card. And if we remember, the deal card works by doing a small task for Morena, and thus Borkson can take any card back from the graveyard and add it back to her hand to continue the game onwards. So there's that. So now we get Tier 2's announcement that all civilians have to return to their rooms immediately and stay on standby and make sure they don't have any accessories or personal belongings on them of any kind, keep all the doors open, and have their hands spread on the table or hold their hands up and raised above their shoulders and wait for further instructions. And I like how Morena is shocked that Borkson's continuing the game right now, but she didn't expect the risk to their side to surface at a time like this, so things are going to progress as they further along. And so Morena's request for Borkson to do in this situation for the deal card is for her to kiss Morena. And Borkson is just confused over this, and obviously we all know that Morena's whole deal with her contagion ability is that you have to kiss her, and it has to be a deep kiss, obviously. So, yeah, there's that. So that is how things go. That's what Borkson has to do. And Morena actually breaks down the 3 conditions of her ability to be fulfilled. 1, the conclusion of the negotiation game must be a yes. So it seems like the negotiation game is also a part of her ability as well. So that kind of confirms it a bit more. 2, or B, you must kiss Morena and become infected with her ability, thus starting the game and having the net abilities awakened within them. And 3, you must be present at the scene where either she or one of the other members that are currently infected commits a murder. So casually bring up that they are, doing a murder so they can progress the game and all that. And apparently the order doesn't matter as long as all 3 conditions are met, and that's how she will be infected with her ability. So just the kiss is just one of the conditions, but depends on how things go. Borkson will end up getting potentially all 3 right, depending on how things go. But as this goes on, we learn that they get an announcement for Tier 1, for everyone to return to their rooms and wait for further instructions, and depending on how the investigation goes, their usual daily activities of freedom will continue as they are, and that shocks Borkson on how things have been set up to bring her to Tier 1. That means they're potentially on Tier 1. And Borkson ends up coming to the conclusion that perhaps all this was set up in advance, and since she basically faked her way into being a second track faker, a member of the Haley family, the boss, a room on Tier 1 was most likely prepared in advance for her. So the idea of having a place on Tier 1 is definitely a thing. However, there is the intriguing way of her getting from Tier 3 to Tier 1. We all know it's based off of one of Morena's family members' net abilities. So we all know that that's the way that they got to their current location for the hideout. And so, as all this goes on, Borkson accepts Morena's deal, and they kiss off screen, which causes Morena to blush and kind of awkwardly says, "I'm sorry," and apparently brings it up that this was Borkson's first kiss, and also this is just comedic relief moment in this incredibly tense situation. And so through all this, Borkson just grabs the X card back from the graveyard, puts it back to her hand. And so, yeah, we get back to the game, and so they're about to deal the cards. But Borkson tries to play a bit smarter, telling them to hold off, as she wants to take a look at the cards again because she didn't look at the cards. She didn't have the cards in her line of sight during the off-screen kissing. So she just wants to make sure the cards are the same. And so Morena's trying to equate this to someone not trusting their partner and looking at their text messages and all that, which is pretty, honestly, a pretty funny comparison. But yeah, she allows Borkson to flip him over, and along with the X card she just got back, the return card and the no card are there. So yeah, that seems to be the case. Everything seems to be back to where it should be. And so, cards are dealt again, shuffled, and now they have to go ahead and draw. And immediately, Borkson draws the X card, and it goes away once again. So, despite the trouble of getting it back, Borkson has now lost the card that voids the game once more. So it all comes down to the return card at the end of the day to see how things go. So, yeah, all that's left for Morena in her hand is question A, question B cards, and the yes card. And so, while Morena's trying to say that it doesn't really matter if you just want to ask one question, you can just skip question A and just pick question B instead. But Borkson chooses question A, and so she can ask as many questions as a whole in quick succession. And Morena can only answer yes or no. So she ends up going through all the individual tiers all the way up through tier 1 and 2, but Morena answers that the hideout is not on any of the tiers. And so, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, wait, are they in a pocket dimension where it's not really anywhere? But as they're wondering what's going on, they all know. She ends up asking if she's lying. She says no. If it's on Black Whale, it's yes. And Borkson asks, the hideout was created through a net ability. And Morena answers yes and no, which is interesting. Now, we all know that specific aspects of how this whole thing was built and set up was due to a bunch of net abilities in quick succession. But after getting this answer, there is a shudder, a loud noise. And this is where Borkson figures out where the hideout is. It is between tiers 2 and 3. And Morena answers yes. And based off of how things are, the noise that they heard and felt was the doors locking between tiers 2 and 3. And so that's what they felt. And so this whole hideout was most likely built in preparation far in advance to have things set up in order to build up this hideout. And so we keep asking more questions. Does the hideout have multiple entrances? Or are they located in a place accessible to the public? Yes and no. Yes, because we all know one of the main entrances is through one of Morena's family members' net abilities. Are there multiple entrances? Yes. And we end up learning that there is at least 5 entrances. And Borkson understands and thinks about how Morena's kind of like, once we got to 4 and 5, she was like, like thinking and pauses. Not because she's trying to avoid a situation, but because she wanted to ensure that what she was saying was indeed the truth. Obviously, from the rules of the game, limitations and vows, gotta use them all up to the best advantages. And so Borkson is going to use those limitations for the game into her advantage as well. And so she ends up confirming that with Morena included, there's 21 members of the Haley family. Now, I believe, so that, based on how we knew things from the beginning, I think at least 2 members were killed off earlier on in this arc, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. It's been a little while, obviously. And so, Borkson keeps asking. If she manages to get out of there safely, she intends not to say anything, yada yada, yada yada yada, and ends up confirming that Morena will honor their deal and leave her be. And Morena says yes. And then Borkson asks the important question. If she picks the no card as her last card, Morena will kill her. And she answers yes. And so, of the 21 members, Morena's the only specialist. We end up basically confirming that there are more than one enhancer in the group, you know that. And Morena also doesn't know all of her... Another question is that Morena doesn't also know all of the abilities of her family members. So that is an interesting thing to go about. Most of that could be the fact that a lot of them are lower level, so they haven't manifested their nin abilities just yet. So that does track, and shows she wouldn't know 100% what all their abilities would be until they reach that level. And so Borkson's trying to bring out every last piece of information, and so she ends up coming to one last succession of questions to confirm some stuff from Morena, stating how she's learned so many things talking to her, and that she's come to feel grateful for this chance. If she ends up with the card that allows her to leave, she's thinking of changing Kakin in her own way. But she confirms that Morena has no intention of changing her goal. Morena says no. She ends up saying, you have absolutely no intention of changing your goal. Morena also says no. Borkson keeps asking, no matter what happens, you have no intention of changing your goal. No. And Borkson ends up asking, even if it's just a little bit, if there was any way to find some sort of compromise. But Morena says no. There's no way that she will change her goal, with a relatively somber look on her face, showcasing that she might, at the end, maybe want to change things a little tiny bit, but is fully resolute in what she's doing, what her goals are, and wants to follow through no matter what, and doesn't want to change anything whatsoever. So I like how Borkson, over these batch of chapters, understood Morena and her family a lot more, and based on that, she is probably trying to find some sort of empathy within Morena, especially after her whole backstory, to try and convince her to alter her plans a little bit. Obviously, not just for the Destruction of Kakin, but for humanity as a whole. But either way, it's still a concerning thing to think about, and it is a shame because you do see Borkson kind of wishes that she could change Morena's mind at the end of the day, because she, even though she understands her decision, she kind of doesn't want this to be the case, regardless of the outcome. And so we come to the final dealing between the two cards, the return card and the no card. And so they decide to make their decision at the same time and flip the cards. If Morena ends up flipping over the R card herself, Borkson gets the no card and she dies. But if the opposite's true, Borkson can leave. And so they flip it over at the exact same time, and Borkson gets the return card. And that sweet sigh of relief that she managed to get out of this alive was just precious at the end of the day. So yeah, she got out of the situation. She got the return card, and so Morena just says, congratulations, a pity, but it can't be helped. Now, grab the card you want to exchange for the R card, and the game will be over. But Borkson ends up saying, I kind of gripped the R card too hard, and it ended up crumbled. But Morena says, don't worry about it, we replace the cards every single time, so it's a relief. And so Borkson goes on to grab her card. And so Morena ends up asking, is that not a mistake? And so we turn over and we see that Borkson didn't choose the X card, but chose the Yes card, which ends the chapter with her saying that this isn't a mistake. So this is something I was not expecting, and I'm sure all of us weren't expecting this to happen. Well, we thought we were going to cut to what was going on during the negotiation game to see why martial law was enacted. Seems like Togashi is just fully concluding the negotiation game and everything going on with Borkson and Morena, and we're getting a unexpected choice by Borkson to join the Haley family, become a specialist, and help Morena out. And Morena's surprised by this too, showcasing no manipulation or mind control at this instance. And everyone in the room is kind of surprised at Borkson's choice. And I am not sure what she's going to do with this. Because, while we all expected her to pick the X card at the end of the day, my guess is with this last batch of questions and getting the information that she was getting, and Morena's responses to all her questions, maybe Borkson decided it would have been best for her to join Morena and maybe sabotage from the inside, maybe try and get her to change her mind. I I don't know. I legitimately don't know. This is something I was not expecting to happen whatsoever, especially by Borkson's own choice. So things are definitely going in a direction that is definitely unexpected, and I'm curious to see how Togashi is going to explore this, because, yeah, I was not expecting Borkson to join the Haley family willingly after getting through this very tense game and figuring out where the hideout is, learning all this information, all that shit. But she picked the yes card and joined the Haley family, and is now basically going to be part of Morena. I don't know what's going to happen with this, and Togashi continues to be one of the most unpredictable writers in manga that I have come across in every story that I've read. He is up there with one of the most unpredictable people out there, and I am so excited to see what is going to happen next. Things are definitely going to be really tense going forward, and I feel like now the negotiation games are done, we're probably going to move on to what happened between then and now. Between the start of the negotiation game, or when Borkson was abducted, and now with Morena. So many things to dig deep into, to the point where I'm not even sure where things are going to begin. But all I know is that within the next few chapters, maybe next chapter will end things off for a relatively big change-up. But what do you guys think of this chapter and everything that we learned so far? What did you think of Borkson's decision to join Morena at the very end? Let me know in the comments below. I am legitimately confused, and I want to know what happens next. So yeah, tell me your thoughts, opinions, and theories in the comment section down below. And with all that said and done, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Shows you enjoy the content I make on the channel, and shows you want to see more. And I will probably correct things if there is a difference between the fan translation and the official translation. So let me know in the comments once the official comes out. That way I know if there's any mistranslations or anything to address when it comes to chapter 410 when I eventually review that. Or would you like me to just do the fan translations so you guys can get these videos a bit earlier? Let me know. I might go back to fan translations, but I'm still kind of set on the officials. But let me know in the comments. And with all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day.